Hey guys, real quick, if you will watch the videos in order of how I've posted them, it'll probably make a little more sense as I comment about different things. The videos are posted in the order that I recorded them. And so as I'm talking and referencing different things, a lot of times I will say, as I've mentioned in a previous video, if you haven't watched that video yet, not gonna make sense. So just make sure when you're going back through my channel, it would be helpful to start at the beginning with the first video and then watch them all in order. Thanks guys. Hey y'all, and welcome back to Tobacco Leaf Legacies. I'm Cheryl. This is just a quick video. Well, are any of my videos quick? Anyway, I want to tell you why I always close out my videos with Carpe Diem, seize the day. I've had a few people ask me about that, and I just wanted to share with you some things in my life that kind of led me, I guess, to that, and why I have adopted that as my life motto. Made some little notes here so I don't forget, you know me. First of all, I have older parents. I came along, let's see, mom was 39, almost 40 when she had me. So I already came along a little late in life. My parents were not in wonderful health when I was born. Was pretty good, pretty decent, but let's see, my dad had a heart attack when I was 6. And I remember mom was very scared. We really thought that we were going to lose him at that point. I remember her sitting down with me one night. She did not tell me she was scared. It was just one of those things, even being so young, that I figured out really quick. She sat us down, and she wanted us to pray together. Y'all, that's the first and last time that ever happened. So mom was very scared, but dad came through, and gosh, he lived until, just a few years ago, on about a fourth of a heart. So, I mean, he did fairly well. But then mom also had a scare. She had breast cancer. And there was that. And so as I grew up when I was young, my parents were in and out of hospitals. I remember, I believe it was when my dad had the heart attack and was in the hospital. I was still so young. And mom, I wasn't at babysitters all the time. I think I can remember 2 times in my life where somebody babysat me, and it was an older neighbor. But mom would take me to the hospital, and I remember she would get me, I'd bring like a coloring book or, something to entertain myself. And you couldn't do this now. You could not do this now. But this is early 80s. So, but I think she would tell, I'm assuming she told the head nurse, because it was, you would walk in, and then there was like the place where the nurses were, and the little past that was where you could sit. There was a little shop right there. So she would tell me, you sit out here, you behave, you can go in the store, you can get something. She'd give me like a couple bucks to get a piece of candy, or I don't know, Snicker or something like that. She was like, you sit right here. And I feel like I was a pretty well-behaved child, because, I mean, shoot, y'all, mom just had to give me a look, and whatever I was doing, I mean, it stopped. It stopped. Do you know that look? Oh my goodness. So I was not a naughty child to start with, but I knew that the situation that we were in was very serious, so I behaved. I would sit there and I'd look at my little books, or I'd color, whatever I was doing. I would go in the little gift shop, walk around for a minute, like I said, get maybe a piece of candy, come right back out and sit down. So at 6 years old, that was my life. Like I said, in and out of hospitals with the parents. So that's what I grew up with. I grew up with dealing with serious situations that most kids don't have to deal with at that young of age. Maybe not till high school or older do they have to start handling some of the things that I was handling at a very young age. So That kind of changed me a little bit. I vaguely remember the parents sitting me down, and I don't know what prompted this. I don't know if I said something or if they just felt like they needed to tell me. I don't know. But I remember them sitting me down one time and saying, look, if something happens to us, you're going to live with your brother. Just kind of letting me know I had somewhere to go if something happened to them, because it was, again, just that serious. So there was that. I also lost both of my grandfathers around 6 and 7 years old. I knew what was happening, but I didn't have, obviously, the emotional, I don't want to say it didn't hit me emotionally, but I guess I just couldn't process it like everybody else. I was 6. But I do remember it. I remember going, and I remember watching everybody and how they were acting. I haven't forgotten that. There was that. My one grandmother passed before I was born, so I didn't even know her. My other one passed when I was a sophomore in high school. And she was really the only one that I was very close to. That's Mama. That's the one that I talk about a lot. That was really hard because she had cancer. We'd come up here, I think spring break that I had from school. Mom had been up here because once my grandmother went into the hospital, my mom was like, I'm not leaving her. I'm staying, right there with her, right to the end. Which I've always admired my mom for that, because, Dad and I were fine. She needed to be with her mom, period. And there was nobody else to take care of her mom but her. But I remember we came up here for spring break, and I walked away from her knowing I wasn't going to see her again. And that's hard. That's really hard. I know all of us have had those kind of situations where someone's in the hospital and they're terminal, but that having to walk away, that's really rough. That's rough. So there was that. So then we're going to move on to a situation that really got me. I'm not going to share details of the story. It's not my story to share. When I was I think I was in 6th grade. Oh, goodness. I'm out here by this beautiful oak tree sitting down here at the base. This is my favorite tree. Ooh, should have brought a towel or something. Anyway, in 1986, we always came up here for the summer, and we were on the way. I remember I had a little dwarf rabbit. I was very excited to have her. And I had a cousin that I adored very much, and I was looking forward to seeing him. Our family, his family, my dad and his mom were brother and sister, so we were all very close. And I was very excited. I had my little rabbit, and I couldn't wait to show him. Well, when we got up here, we found out that there had been an accident, and my dad and my brother rushed to the hospital, and unfortunately my cousin passed. And like I said, not going to tell that part of the story. That's the family story to tell, but it was just a stupid, tragic accident is what it was. And I still remember that night because it was rainy and stormy, and we were all over here, even my sister-in-law at the time, and I think my nephew was just a baby. We were all here in the house. We lost power. It was just a bad night. And that still sticks with me to this day. And as the days went on after that, of course, everybody was upset and traumatized, over this. Because it was such a shock and just so bad. And I remember at the viewing, I refused to go. And I don't think my parents were very happy with me, but I could not go. I went to the funeral. But I remember being inside and telling my grandmother, I was like, Mama, I can't go see him. I can't see him like that. And I was, I'm still upset about it. And I was very upset then, but my grandmother was very understanding, and she was like, honey, it's okay. It's all right. Don't worry about it. They'll understand, it's okay. I could not go. Went to the funeral, all that happened, and I told myself that I would not return to his grave until I could drive. Okay. So we'll just kind of bookmark that little place right there. His death, it affected me big time. He was 17 when it happened. I was very nervous to turn 17. There was really no reason for that, but I kind of came to learn years later that it had been very traumatizing for me, for a few people to go through that. I didn't, understand some of that at the time until I got older. Then in high school, we had a teacher. I had an English teacher, and she was wonderful. And a girlfriend of mine and I started calling her mom. She was just so nice. And around that time was when Dead Poets Society came out. If you have not watched Dead Poets Society, please go watch it. Like, seriously, just stop the video and go watch it. The lessons in that video are incredible, in the movie, are immense. And I love things that have lessons in them. Sometimes we learn from our own mistakes. I don't really like that word, but we learn from our own experiences. That's a better word. But other times there's lessons in things that we can learn from. And at that time in my life, what I'd already been through, what I'd already dealt with, it hit me very hard. The lesson in that, the Carpe Diem, okay? The Carpe Diem, the seize the day. Your days are numbered. All of us have got a clock ticking over our head. And all of us handle that differently. Some of us ignore it. Some of us are super sensitive to it, like me. I am very aware of that clock ticking over my head every day. And that affects how we live. And so watching that movie and seeing that lesson and coming from what I'd already been coming from, it really hit me and it really got my attention. Okay. Fast forward 2 or 3 years. Graduated, let's see, I did not go back out to my cousin's grave until around, it was, y'all, I gotta think for a second. 92, so I graduated 92, 96. It was probably 4 to 5 years after I graduated high school. I came up here to North Carolina one day, and I was like, it's time to go see him. It's time to go. I hadn't been. Took my dad's van, messed with a radio station. This will be important later. Messed with a radio station until I found a song I liked, because they always listen to country, and at the time that's not what I wanted to hear. So I changed it to something else. And I headed off to the cemetery. I remembered about where he was, so I kind of just pulled up and really just about walked right to him, which was very interesting considering I hadn't been there in a little over 10 years. And I went out to the grave, and, you do the things that you do. You're sitting there crying. You're telling somebody that you miss them. And with Jeff, I had felt this for a number of years. I was like, I feel like you're around me. I feel like you're watching over me, that kind of thing. These are some of the things that I'm saying as I'm sitting at the grave. And I sat there for a little bit and crying and carrying on like you do. Got up, went back to the van, and sat for a minute or two. You're getting the tissues, you're trying to clean up and stuff. And when I turned on the ignition, the second the radio came on. Now, this is a song you're going to want to look up, otherwise my story will have a little less meaning. Look up Queensryche, Silent Lucidity. Some of you may know this song, some of you may not. The song is actually very pretty. It's kind of a haunting-ish tune. I mean, I don't really know how to explain it, but when you hear it, you'll know what I mean. Part of the chorus of that song is, I will be watching over you. I'm going to help you see it through. Okay? That kind of thing. Well, when I turned on the ignition, the timing, and I don't believe in coincidence. I'll just put that out there. I don't believe in coincidence. The second that my key turned on and the music started playing, it was right there. And it was right at the, I will be watching over you. I'm going to help you see it through. And to this day, it still gets me because I still remember how that felt. And I remember just, being frozen. And I had this incredible feeling, I don't know how to describe it, kind of wash over me. And y'all, I lost it. Absolutely lost it. And I tell you all of these stories to come back to that this is why I end all of my videos, and I will always end all of my videos with Carpe Diem, seize the day. It is life lessons that I have been through, that I have learned, experiences that I have had, and I have watched too many people throughout my lifetime not embrace this life, not embrace every single day. People die every single day, and they don't have to be old, and they don't have to be sick. They can be a baby, they can be a child, that you can be in an accident. A friend of mine, bless her, her mother just passed. Okay, her mother was not sick. Her mother fell. Something happened when she fell, and she passed. I mean, y'all, sometimes I think we don't fully grasp just how precious life is. And that is one of my things in this life, is to share with people, to try to get it through people's heads that yes, there's a time to be conservative, and there's a time to prepare for the future, and there's a time to live. There is a time to live. And that's one thing that happened. I had an absolutely life-changing moment at my cousin's grave that day. As I stood looking at the grave, I've been raised, I will admit, in a very conservative upbringing, because that's how my parents were raised. But as I stood in my very early 20s looking at this grave, I mean, I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm living. I'm still here. Like, what am I doing? And I made a 180 that day. Literally that day. Made a 180, and I've never lived life the same. Maybe people along the way have not agreed with how I've lived life, but it's my life. It is 100% mine. Don't live your life for anybody but you. And don't make decisions for anybody but you. Now, I'm not talking when you've got family and kids and you have to do things, but you know what I'm talking about. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. You make decisions for you. You live for you, because you have to live with those choices. And when you get to your end days, whenever that is, you don't want to be full of regrets, because guys, that's awful. That is truly, truly just awful. You want to get to the end of however that's going to be and just be like, wow, look at what I've done. Look at what I tried. Because effort does count. Effort counts. So I just felt like since I've had, a few questions about that, I wanted to share as I do, my experience with you, and I hope that you'll think about it in your own life. I hope that you will take to heart what I have said and what I've shared, and, make those changes in your life if you need to. Make the changes, because you want your days and weeks and months and years and everything. You really want it to count just for all it can. Because yesterday, you don't get it back. You do not get that time back. A few minutes ago, 10, 15 minutes ago, when I started this video, it's gone. It's gone. I don't get that back. So use your time wisely. And I want to show you, you can see, this is my cousin. Now, the reason I have this picture, I actually have another picture too of him a little bit later, but the reason I like this one, you can see his red shirt on there. Let me see, if I get me out of it, maybe it'll focus on him. Well, see my red shirt? There we go, yep. My aunt gave me his shirt that he's wearing in that picture not too long after he passed. I don't ever wear it. I keep it folded and put up. It is a treasure of mine to have his shirt. But I wanted to wear it, and I wanted to show you his picture for this video. Right, Jeff? Right. So, time is precious. Carpe Diem. Seize the day. See you next time.